Hello, welcome. Thank you for watching. I'm Jimmy Kimmel, and I am the moderator. Today, the subject of this panel is one of my favorite shows, Ozark on Netflix. And we've got a lot of the key members of the cast and team here to talk about season three, beginning with the showrunner and executive producer and writer of Ozark, Chris Mundy, executive producer, director, and actor Jason Bateman. She plays Wendy Bird, Laura Linney. Julia Garner, aka Ruth Langmore, Janet McTeer, who plays the tall and terrifying Helen Pierce, Wendy's bipolar brother Ben, Tom Pelfrey, and director Alec Sakharov. And well, first of all, let me just say that I thought season three was just fantastic, and I am honored to be chatting with so many talented people. When we interact personally, I always have a million questions, and one of the questions, I guess, and maybe I should address this to Chris. Is Chris, you have assembled a super talented cast here, and I mean, obviously, we all knew Jason, we all knew Laura, but to find, I mean, just really Julia and then Janet and Tom coming on this season is really impressive. Do you intentionally look for faces that we might not be familiar with?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, our casting director, um, Alexa Fogel, is amazing and just has incredible taste and breadth of knowledge. So that really helps. But it's nicer when there's not a ton of distraction. There's tons of like history that people are bringing from other shows automatically. But mostly, we just look for whoever the best person is, and we've been really lucky. You look awfully good as a writer when these people are saying what you wrote.
Who is the hero of the show? I kind of feel like maybe Ruth is the hero on the show.
I think Ruth is the easiest character to root for, honestly. I don't know if you feel that way when you're playing her, Julia, but like I feel like everyone wants Ruth to succeed, and I know I certainly do. Do you think about her that way?
I feel like Ruth's main thing, which is that's one reason why I feel like you love her because you can identify with it because it's personally the worst feeling. Ruth has a lot of shame internally, so that's why she acts out the way that she does. With shame and blame, it kind of goes hand in hand. So you kind of root for the underdog in a way, and I think Ruth sometimes, I mean, since season one, she throughout goes back and forth of feeling dismissed, so I guess I don't know, it's interesting, but but and then and so it's a facade, like she pretends like she's so confident, but she really doesn't feel that way at all you know
All right, so Alec, you directed the final four episodes of this season, correct?
Yes. Well, yeah.
One of the most memorable scenes of those episodes, Tom is in the back seat of a taxi cab, and he is suffering from bipolar disorder. And it really, I think, was such an interesting choice and such an effective choice to see Tom talking to the driver and thinking aloud at the same time. I'm not sure I've seen anything like that before. How was that decision made?
The script pages, when they came in, they were incredible. And we were all wondering, what's Tom going to do? How's he going to do it? And then when he took a couple of cracks at it, I mean, Chris was right by my side when we did that. And oh my God, every single take that he did, he didn't do it the same, ever. Every single take was different. And it was so good each take, so that when we were in editing, we actually were like, every take is great, so what do we use? And how do we use it? And so that the idea of using some of the dialogue over Tom's image came as a result of actually edit technique. Initially I didn't think of it like that. And then when Vic, our editor, said, I want to show you something. I'm experimenting with something. I wonder if it's going to track with the way you guys intended it. And he showed me a couple of things that he was playing with, and I loved it. And I think actually Jason and Chris made it even better. After I turned the cut in, so it kind of stuck, and it was brilliant. I mean, there was so much to choose from, and everything was so specific to the tone of the actual written word, and more so. And what I really liked is that the cadence of each take was different, and that helped us vary the tension a little bit, because there was so much that was given to us. We had a lot to choose from. So it's all Tom.
That was some of the best acting I think I've ever seen. That really was a fantastic scene. Are you able to, when you're playing a character like that, are you able to base that on anyone? Where do you come up with something like that?
The whole season and that character, but in particular, when I read episode 9, the beginning of that taxi, I thought this was just some of the best writing I'd ever read. And then as an actor, it almost feels like cheating when the writing is that good, because it lets you sit back and play and let it come through you, and you don't necessarily need to have ideas that you're putting on top of it. You're kind of just getting out of the way and letting it be different each time, and the words support that. So yeah, for me, I felt a bit guilty, like I was, cheating. It was just excellent writing.
Yeah, and Chris, you have a good story about how you guys came to that, how those pages kind of came to be, yeah?
Yeah, I'd had this notion of doing Ben in the back of the taxi, and just doing that kind of some version of that. But we always talk about our teasers in really huge detail, and that one we just sort of moved off that idea, and we were going to do sort of a flash forward into the parking lot where Wendy and Ben end up spending the night, and do this thing with a character. So everyone had kind of forgotten about it, and then Mickey Johnson, who wrote the script, just came in with her first draft, and it's like, you know what? I kind of thought about that teaser of him in the cab, and I wrote something. I don't know if anyone's gonna like it, but here it is, and I didn't change a word. I mean, it was just perfect, and it all just kind of came just Mickey just remembered this thing we were talking about 2 weeks beforehand, and in no detail when we usually go into great detail. And then just to piggyback on what Alex said, because I was sitting next to Alec that night we filmed it, and Tom did those takes over and over and over again, and every single time the crew was just holding their breath, like everyone, each time, like they were watching it new. It was amazing.
A lot of it takes place in the car, and another really heartbreaking and beautiful episode was when Laura and Tom who are brother and sister on the show, when you as Wendy were taking Ben for a ride. At one point, tried to save his life, and obviously that changed along the way. But it felt so real and so sad. And I know I didn't know what was going to happen, which I think is unusual. I think most of the time in a situation like that, you have a pretty good idea. But you guys really seem like a sister and brother to me, which I guess is the point of this.
We had a good time. It's very hard for an actor to come onto a set and a crew that's already been established and working together for several years. And Tom arrived and just instantly fit in. That was with such ease and with such generosity, and it was easy for the two of us to just sort of fall into a sense of trust with and for each other. And I think that helped. And then also, again, to echo what Tom was saying, the writing makes it all so easy. When the writing is good, it does so much of the work for you. And then you have a good scene partner, someone who's, prepared and ready to go with a great disposition. And then you just sit back and like Tom was saying, you just try to get out of its way.
Yeah. And Jimmy, also, everybody there treated me like I'd been there from the beginning. the generosity of spirit, the support, the positive attitude on set. I mean, it's just one of those jobs that, is very, very, very rare.
It is funny, as a viewer of the show, I think there's a strange dynamic that once there's a new character introduced, you're like, well, who the fuck is this guy, and what's he up to? How's he gonna fit in? and by the end, I was very sad to see Ben go, because I think it did bring so much, and it brought so much to Ruth's character as well. Julia, first of all, you're fantastic. Really, just unbelievably good. At what point did you know, or do you know, I assume you do, that this character that you're playing, Ruth Langmore, is like one of the classic television characters, that a character that we've never seen before? I think when you see a character like that, usually it's some like crusty 80-year-old woman. That's
because I am a crusty-year-old, 80-year-old woman, Jimmy.
Did you enjoy having a love interest? Because all we'd seen some tender with your relatives, but mostly tough.
Yeah, I mean, again, I want to give like a really cool, interesting answer, but again, what Tom was saying, the writing is so great, and what everybody else is saying, I mean, Chris Mundy, all the writers in the writers' room, they're so incredible. But I mean, for me, it was super comfortable, and again, Alexa Fogel. But I mean, everybody's like such an amazing cast. So, obviously Tom, the scenes with him were super comfortable to do it with him, and then, but I have to say, I was kind of nervous about that, because I was afraid, like, if I wasn't gonna be good with the love interest, because you want a character to be on television consistent but not repetitive in a way. So I was kind of afraid that, what if I do the love interest scene and it's not going to come across right, and then people are going to think that I'm changing the character in a way. So that was something that I personally internally struggled with throughout filming it. But again, like, all the directors, the writing, the actors, they're all so amazing. So yeah, that put me in ease, I guess.
So speaking of the writing, which is obviously where all of this starts, Chris, how do you go about what's the process for plotting out the whole season, between seasons?
Well, we always plot it through the marriage and the family. So it's really a matter of trying to figure out where they are. Going into season 3, we didn't have a big like story cliffhanger. We had more of an emotional cliffhanger when Marty has realized that Wendy had Cade killed, and so it's kind of like, who the hell am I married to? And so we really wanted to dig into the promise of that. And strangely, we just want it to be relatable to people who watch in their own marriages and in their own families, even though they're not doing what the Byrdes do. So we usually try to just pinpoint Marty and Wendy right away, and then there's usually some other overarching theme that we want to explore, even if no one watching even understands. So just if we know it sort of on one level, then we feel like we can do a good job with all the story that we're telling, so it's really just that it's family, and then you're digging into trust issues and those kind of things, and then we just kind of blow it out from there, basically.
Was it a conscious decision to make the show funnier this year?
It was, actually. It's funny, I said it after season 2. I wanted it to be 20% lighter than I'd actually kind of hoped to make season 2 a little funnier than season 1, and just where we were in story, we couldn't be. It just, by nature, it was kind of like everything was tumbling out of season 1, but because we were going to reset and move 6 months down the line, I felt like if we didn't lighten it up a little bit, we'd just kind of wallow a bit, and I didn't want to just wallow. I mean, we're plenty dark when we're dark, but I wanted. We can do a lot of different things in this show. It's what's so good, and like emotionally, we can do so many different stories. And every single actor, I mean, look at everybody. They can be They can be funny with great timing. They can be heartbreaking. You can do whatever you want. So exploring the funny just seemed like everyone could use it just a little bit. And
And in
bad things were
Chris's
gonna happen.
and in Chris's defense and the defense of the rest of the writers, the humor has always been there, and I carry a little baggage of being, sort of known for comedy before this show, and so I thinned a little of that stuff out in the first season and a little out of the second season, and by the time I sort of trusted that people kind of understood what we were going for with this show, I stopped being such a nuisance with that. But Chris is funny as hell, and so is the rest of the writing staff. And I think there's probably even more there that you probably want to and could do. And I think if we get a season 4, we might actually go on a soundstage and bring in an audience and just go 4 camera with it, and it'd be better hours.
Those scenes with your on the take marriage therapist, it seemed like it would be a fun thing to shoot, because I think we've probably all been through these therapy sessions with our significant other, and to be able to play it for fun seems like it would be fun. But also the idea that you were paying the therapist off, which is a great idea, by the way, and one that I am going to use in my personal life. It's just so fun. And then I could also, there were sometimes, and, I write jokes for a living, and there's sometimes you go like, oh, that's too far. And I think that if I was in the writer's room and I said, let's give this therapist a Maserati afterwards, or whatever the fuck that car was, Ferrari she was driving, I go, I don't know, I think that's too much. And yet it was hysterically funny when
Then I just remember that the day we shot that, like, there's this McLaren shows up, and I was like, well, I guess we're doing it, but he knows. He's got such a macro view of things in such a great way, and micro when he needs to. And sorry, you answer the question, Chris, but you deserve plenty of accolades for that.
The funny thing about the show in the writing is we can write it just this much above real at times, because the actors are so good and they're gonna play it real. So you can get away with just a little bit more, just because of how good everybody is. And that was a really good example of that. Sometimes you can do that with a gag like that. I mean, Mary Louise Burke played her. I mean, there's that scene that you're talking about where she rolls up. I've seen that 25 to 50 times in the editing room and all this, and I laugh every single time it happens because she's so funny. And she and Jason are so funny together, and so sometimes you just have to trust that. Like, there was in season 1, we did a thing where Sam's mom, Eugenia, got hit by a garbage truck, and it was played just for comedy, although that probably doesn't translate for people who haven't seen the show, that was funny, but you really only get one. And like, yeah, and like the McLaren was kind of our one, like, really ridiculous, but we're gonna laugh anyway.
Well, the comedy highlight of the season for me was when Wyatt tells Ruth that what's her name again?
You texted me this.
Would you want to meet her mother? Darlene. that was a good one. I like that one. Oh, speaking of Darlene and Wyatt, their relationship, as I was watching it, I loved it. I just imagined a lot of people screaming like from their couches on there, and my wife kind of had that reaction too. She was like an alarmed cat. She's like, oh my God, what's happening here? I don't know if I'm okay with it. And that was an interesting relation. Is that something that you guys really kicked around before you decided to jump in and go with that?
We kicked it around for a while, but we kicked it around, and it was one of those things where, like, we never kicked it very far. And then we kept saying, like, so it was more like, are we really doing this? I think, yeah, we're really doing this. And it was my favorite thing. I remember having breakfast in New York one time. I had to be there with Laura and saying, like, here's one of the things we're gonna do, and like, and telling her, and she just laughs. And then I told Jason the first time, and he's just laughed like crazy. And then when I called up Charlie, um, who plays Wyatt, to tell him, said, I just want to tell you what's gonna happen with your character. He laughed for a full 2 minutes on, which is a really long time on the phone when I told him. It was yeah, but we were pretty certain pretty quickly we were going to do it, and we just wanted to play it real, you know.
Are Wendy and Marty sociopaths?
Christopher?
I think like this is some test to see if I answer whether or not I'm a sociopath. No, I don't think they are. I think they're people that compartmentalize like crazy. I think they're people that got on a slippery slope and are telling themselves that they're going to get back to the top of the slope, and they're self-delusional. But I think they've got real feelings about everything that they've done and that they will do. What do you guys think?
I agree. Yeah, Jason.
I mean, I think, they're, as Chris said earlier, we're dealing with hopefully relatable kind of evergreen thematics and family issues. But what we do for an occupation and the mistakes we make and the arrogance we have kind of trips us over into something that might be worthy of an hour of your time, I think.
And the dreadful parents, really dreadful parents.
Yeah. But here I'm going to throw one other thing at you. When Wendy goes to the old house, and I can understand you trying to stay out of jail, you're committing crimes, you're stuck in a impossible situation. But we saw a bit of Wendy's character that was not at all practical, spiteful, randomly spiteful, and very alarming.
Yeah, she's not very mature. There's a real immaturity to her, and she acts out, and she's impulsive, and she's she wants things, and she gets angry and petty and all of those things. But it's right on a precipice of extreme mental illness. But I don't think it's quite there, which is what makes her sort of compelling. Is that because she's so effective in so many other areas of her life.
Now, Helen's a sociopath, right? I mean, is Helen a sociopath?
No, she's delightful. She's a very good mother. She's just very good at her job. Like many of us.
Yes. Of course, I'm going to warn, if you're just kind of popping into this and you've not seen the whole season, that we're going to spoil it for you. So you should hit mute. But wow, Helen's demise was shot so beautifully and suddenly and grotesquely. And of course, after it happens, it makes perfect sense. The choice that was made, but I love how abruptly it happens. The even though there was plenty of lead up, the abruptness. Tell me about shooting that scene, because it's upsetting.
It was really good fun. It's it's always weird doing things. It was really good fun, because it's kind of, the lovely thing about our job is that you get to play and you get to do lots of things that you're not supposed to do as a grown-up. And sort of shooting people in the head is one of them. And being shot in the head is one of them. And so kind of, first of all, you want to really get it right. So you want to make it look right, obviously. And secondly, you want to do it justice. And thirdly, there's this sort of nervousness about the fact that it takes such a long reset to wash everybody's hair and wash all the goo off, and that the pressure of actual filming time is on you, all of which sort of gives it a heightened sense of kind of fun, to be honest. The other side of it is that that your character, who you've actually grown to bizarrely be fond of, regardless of whether you think she's a sociopath or not. You're inhabiting her every day, so you're kind of going, wow, that's the end of her, and that feels a little odd. So it's the actual shooting day was very strange. It was we rehearsed it and rehearsed it and we rehearsed it and we rehearsed it and we rehearsed it in order to kind of make it as efficient as possible. And then when we shot it, we actually shot it in one take.
Wow. Yeah.
Which we all,
yeah, I guess.
which we are quite proud of.
Who makes that decision as far as when you get it in one take? I mean, I would think the
Alec.
inclination would be, well,
Alec.
we might as well try it again. Alec, you decided we got it. That's it. We're good.
I think it's just it's sort of was my decision and wasn't. It was I was happy with it, and so I showed it to Jason, obviously, and Laura was there, and everybody looked at the take, and we sort of like gathered around the monitor, and I was excited by it because I thought that the essence, maybe it wasn't absolute perfection, but in its imperfection, I thought there was so much spontaneity that it felt natural, and I just wanted to go with it. And the guys were so supportive. They said, "Let's do it. It's working."
Well,
And we went with it.
we had talked it through and rehearsed it so many times, and we knew that there was going to be brain matter, thrown at our faces and the blood and but Jason and I had no idea actually what that was going to feel like. So what you see is really two shocked people in reality, because we had no idea what all that stuff was going to feel like when it was blown all over our faces.
I agree with that because that element of shock when the matter landed on Laura and Jason's faces, and they played to it, and they didn't stop acting until you say cut. Obviously, you just extrapolate on that, and you go with it because they're giving us so much, and it was brilliant. I was excited.
Janet and Tom, when you signed up to do the show, did you know that? Did you know how things would end for your characters?
I did, yeah, pretty quickly. Chris called me before we started filming, and he gave me a rundown of what Ben's year would be like.
Yeah.
It was really helpful.
Because in the first season, I was there for one season, and then we all had such a good time, so they very kindly asked me back. So when I came back the second season, I think we were a few episodes in, and that's when I knew that we were gonna kill her off, and which was kind of to be expected, really. I mean, somebody's got to die. Might as well kill the bad stuff.
I remember talking to Janet on the phone about that, because it's like you, in every part of you does not want. I don't want Janet as a person to go. I don't want Helen, the character, to go. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but it's where that story was gonna go, and we knew it was gonna be down to the last second. So, what's right for the story and what you want, just because that character was so great to write, and Janet's just so good in it, and so lovely to just all of us get to all be together. That's when it gets really. Those are that's the worst.
Yeah, and then things like this are torture, because there they are on camera, you hear their voice, we're hanging out, we're laughing, and it's like, character's dead. I mean, we can do flashbacks, right, Chris?
We can do flashbacks.
You do anything
We've
you
done
want. But it does seem like that even if you are a great villain, and I think this show has had more than its share of pretty great villains, that doesn't mean anything. Your days are numbered. You are probably going to get it.
They have to lose, otherwise the protagonists are gonna die or get incarcerated. It's like it's oddly simple math that you feel foolish for not figuring out before you fall in love.
Speaking of attention to detail, I love that we see real products around the house. That it looks like a real house. That it's not your typical Greeked out television props. And how much thought goes into that? Really keeping everything as real as possible from a set directing standpoint.
There's the production design is a big part of the show because you're looking for authenticity. We're looking to match everything that Chris is setting up. Where, people they might be from the sticks, and so they should speak like they're there and follow the values and the qualities and the cars and the occupations and the stuff inside the house should look. Everything needs to feel raw, and the writing is that, like you said, Julia's Ruth is just like, it is so authentic and original, and the production design is we make an attempt to try to follow suit with that, and all the local casting, and anytime we have to build a set too, we try to make sure it doesn't look like a studio set, which is quicker and easier, and it just takes a little bit more attention to detail or taste. And the crew needs no prodding on that.
Even a little thing like your charity being BFF, the Bird Family Foundation, which jumped out at me when you said it, and then I noticed the title of the episode was BFF. It's just all so well done. It's so well thought out. It's a great show, and I hope you all are very proud of the work that you've done on it. And I will tell you that we never miss it. We love it. We look forward to it. We're sad when it's over. We hope you do many more seasons to come. I would watch the multi-camera sitcom version. I will point out also that Ozark backwards is crazo, so you could go in a totally different direction if you wanted to with that.
I've got a short embarrassing story about that. I pick the location signs each year, those little yellow signs that point you where to go when you're driving a location. And we're not supposed to pick a sign that would send fans or somebody. Anyway, you're supposed to have it be not Ozark. So I was like, well, we'll just spell it backwards. No one will know. But those signs, you can flip them either way. So if you need the arrow to go this way or that way for the location managers. So of course, if you flip it the other way, it says Ozark. So you could only ever go left going to our sets. Otherwise, you'd know where it is. I'm not super smart, but.
Well, you definitely know how to launder money. Do any of you do your own laundry?
I haven't had to in the last 8 weeks. I've been wearing this since March 15th.
Well, thanks for making a great show. Thanks for letting me be a part of this. Yeah, if you'd like to write me in, I would love to. I'll play any role. I would, I'll go out to Georgia or wherever the hell you guys are, and
Watch, we're gonna call.
Spoiler alert, you die.
It's called Ozark. It's on Netflix. It is very worthy of your awards consideration. And thanks to all of you. I appreciate it. Stay safe.
Thanks again to you, Jimmy.
Thanks for talking.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thanks for doing
Bye.
this.
Thanks.